Hey everyone, boy, what a difference a couple days makes. Just the other day it was 74 degrees out here, and now here we are in coats. But I guess, as they always tell me, that's Michigan. The other day, I'm sitting at home and I'm working, and I get this call completely out of the blue. Just completely out of the blue from one of my old friends. Now, I call him an old friend because he's a friend from way back when, but also because he's getting old. I mean, we're all getting old. I know that, as we like to say around that church, we're maturing, we're mature. Sometimes we just feel old. Anyway, he called me up, and we spent about an hour just chatting, just catching up on life and catching up on everything that was going on. And it was a wonderful time to catch up, and it was a wonderful time for me to remember just how important this relationship I have with this friend Dave, and all those years we have gone back together. But it also made me recall a conversation that I had back when I was doing campus ministry. We used to bring speakers in to come and share with us their thoughts and about their work that they were doing, depending on the topic. And this one time we invited this guy, his name was Hugh, to come and speak to our campus ministry group. Hugh was what he called himself was the pastor to those who were experiencing homelessness. And Hugh worked with folks who were currently in a place where they didn't have a permanent place to live, people that we might see passing by on the streets. And Hugh had developed this ministry. He called it Love Wins, and it was a wonderful ministry that built community among those persons who were struggling at that time, those persons who were without a home, those persons who were in need of a community. But when he came and he spoke to our campus ministry group, it was really interesting because the way he began this time was he asked our students, what do we believe the cause of homelessness was? Well, we offered up all the examples and all the ideas that we had, mental illness, losing a job, being evicted from a home, dealing with drug abuse, something like that. And so we said, these are the causes of homelessness. Well, it was interesting because what Hugh said was, those aren't really the cause of homelessness. Those may be symptoms, but they are not the cause. Hugh said the cause of homelessness in his thinking was relationships, or the lack of relationships, really. He went on to explain it this way. He said, okay, let me ask you this question. If you suddenly got evicted from your home, be it your own fault or the fault of somebody else, maybe medical bills, something, anyway, you end up losing your home, who would you call if you found that you could not live in the place that you are living right now? He wanted us to name names, and so we jotted down the names of people that we would call. Maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a good friend, maybe it was a companion that we had known for quite some time. Whatever it was, we wrote down those names. And Hugh said, here's the thing. The persons that are on the street, they don't have anybody on their list. They've got no names. He said for some of them, yes, they burned bridges, and that's why they didn't have names on the list. But for whatever reason, they didn't have anyone to turn to. And because of that, they found themselves without a home. Now, I know some of you remember, some of you who've gone to our church know that I talk a lot about one of the students that was in our campus ministry named Maggie. Maggie was at that meeting when Hugh was speaking, and boy, her heart lit up because, see, Maggie had this heart for those persons who were experiencing homelessness or who were economically challenged in some ways. And so her passion was to begin a restaurant, a pay-as-you're-able restaurant. And she did that, and it was booming. It's still going strong. It's changed a little bit during the pandemic, but Maggie started this restaurant. Now, here's the thing about it is because of the vision that I think she saw forming out of her time when she began actually working with Hugh at Love Wins, she realized that she needed to do more than just feed people. What she really wanted to do was provide a place that would be a spot where people could gather and community could be formed. So it was feeding people, yes, meeting their physical needs, but also meeting this relational need by forming a community of folks. And that's why she's struggling right now in some ways with her ministry, because of the pandemic. It's hard for them to gather. But that was so much a part of that vision, was to create that community. Now here's the thing. I know that for many of us, we give to ministries such as Bountiful Harvest, the Severe Weather Network, Gleaners, just to name some that are around Brighton. But we give to that ministry because we know the physical need needs to be met. But the next step to meeting that physical need is the relational need. And sometimes it's the relational need that will keep people where they are. So there was two thoughts I had as I wanted to do this devotional. That was the first thought. What might we do? What ways can we be challenged to begin to meet that relational need that folks have? But the other thing I thought was, when we go back to that question, who would you turn to in the time of crisis? Who would be the person that you would go to, and without any questions asked, they would provide a place for you? Who is that person on that list? Who would be the names that you would name? Maybe we need to let them know how important they are to us. Maybe during this season of Thanksgiving, we need to find a way to reach out to them and give thanks that they are a part of our home team. They are a part of our own cloud of witnesses. They are our support base. They are the people that we can turn to with all of our needs, emotional, physical, someone that we know that is a part of our family, be it our blood family or just our spiritual family. So scripturally, what this reminded me of as I listened to the plane go by, what this reminded me of is the end of Paul's letter to the church in Rome. Now, the letter to the church in Rome was the letter where many people think Paul made most clear his theological understanding. He probably put his theology together in the letter to the Romans more than any other place. But at the very end of this letter, in chapter 15, Paul begins to give thanks, and he told those who were reading this letter to greet all of those who he knew, who were a part of perhaps his home team. I commend to my sister Phoebe, a deacon of the church. He talks about Priscilla and Aquila. Now, here's the thing. I would read this to you, but there are so many names on here that I don't know how to say that I know I'd embarrass myself. So instead of reading it, I'm just going to invite you to look at Romans chapter 16, the first 16 verses of that. And look at those names. Those names that Paul mentions here are names of people that support him, that support his ministry, that support the Church of Jesus Christ, that support all that Paul is trying to stand for. They are the names that he would have listed if he would have been in a place of need, because he knew that they've met his need many times over. So perhaps that's the first thing that we need to do during this season of Thanksgiving. Make that list a name and find a way to thank them. Find a way to let them know how much you appreciate them. Because that truly is the thing that upholds us, is those relationships that are so important to us. So thanks so much for listening, and enjoy this cool rest of the day.